Welcome back to Man Across New Horizons. I'm dear darling, and shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where it's apparently a fishing tourney, which I honestly completely forgot about. What time is it for fishing tourney end? I hope it's not 5, because it's 4:59 right now, and we might not get a chance to participate. And if we don't, then so be it. I believe we have everything from fishing tourney already, so basically we're sort of just doing one round every single time it comes up. So we do 4 rounds a year to slowly accumulate, I don't know, points for really no reason anymore. But anyway, I don't know, we'll see what Isabel says. Hello everyone, we're now in Fawnhallow. It's 5 PM on Saturday, October 9th, 2021. The fall fishing tourney runs until 6 PM today. Get started in our plaza. So 6 PM, we got time. What have I been up to today? Well, today's a weekend. I will say it, last night I started watching season 5. Oh no, I didn't start watching season 5. I already watched a few episodes, but I've continued watching season 5. And it's the closest I've come to binging, I suppose, a little bit more of it in season 5. Check this out, dear. I visited home a while back and got to watch my cousin's kid. That little rugrat is so stinking cute. Oh no, we've had this before. I'm sorry, Phoebe. I'd watched about half of season 5 cumulatively from whenever about a week after, maybe a few days after I finished watching season 4 till yesterday, last night. And now I've just binged almost the rest of it from last night until now, really. Not like straight, you know, I did other things in between, but I've watched a lot of them. I've only got 3 episodes left, and my word, is it heating up in My Hero. Sorry, did I say that I was watching My Hero Academia? I'm not sure if I actually ever mentioned the anime name. It is crazy. And you know what the sad part is I'm almost like caught up now, you know. After I watch these last 3 episodes, that's it. I'm well, not quite on pace with everyone else because I haven't watched the second nor the third movie, but still, that's basically most of it. And you know, it's sort of a bittersweet feeling, you know. Firstly, because when you're caught up, it means like now you can join the hype in everyone. It's difficult. It's much easier now to not get spoiled, at least to anime only watchers, I suppose. And you might argue because My Hero Academia also has a manga, I can get spoiled from that, which is true. It is true. But now it's a lot easier to like look at discussions and that sort of thing, see theories that other people are coming up with, that sort of thing, and you sort of can get hype with everyone else about upcoming releases and what potential theories and outcomes could occur in the future. But the downside is obviously now I've got no more material to watch. I have to wait agonizingly along with everyone else every single week for a new episode to come out, and even now we're in the lull between seasons, I believe. I don't know if season 6 is confirmed. I assume it must be because it's probably got to be the most popular shonen series right now. Well, that's not true. Maybe Attack on Titan's more popular. I've not really got a pulse on the anime watchers of, well, the world, I suppose. So I'm not really sure, but it's definitely up there in popularity. So I've got to assume so. So yeah, it's always a bittersweet feeling of, what the heck is this? A pike? I forgot these are things. A bittersweet feeling of being like, oh, you know, I finally caught up to things, and I can enjoy it along with everyone else now properly, and also, you know, I'm out of things to enjoy. I've got no more. I no more. Can I just be like in the evening? Oh, what should I do? I'll just put on just like an episode of My Hero Academia or something. Now I'm just like either that or read a manga, which I don't plan to do. And I mean, part of the appeal I feel like for watching it for me personally is watching the grandiose sort of animation at work and hearing the expression through the characters, through their speech and dialogue, which is something which manga could never really quite give to me. The only mangas I've really read are ones where they didn't have anime, i.e. Beastars, which didn't have an anime when I finished reading it. But Beastars is well over now. It's been over for half a year now, manga-wise, and I suppose it was also interesting catching up to that because Beastars was, I can't remember quite how I discovered it. I think I discovered it from a meme or something of some like, of the tiger character Bill. I can't even remember what he was doing. He was like beating someone up, and then I think it was stitched together from multiple things, and Louis pulling a gun or someone. I can't quite recall. I mean, I remember people commenting about the meme, being like, "Oh, this is from a manga called Beastars. It's actually a pretty good manga, and perhaps you know, read it if you're interested." And I was like, you know, anthropomorphic animals, interesting art style, and what appeared to me to be like, ooh, maybe a bit more of a dystopian Zootopia thing going on, which is the thing I like about Zootopia. It's like, oh, I like this concept, but I don't like, I feel like it'd be much more interesting with a little bit of a darker world. Not completely dark, but a little bit darker. 2,000 fish. 5,000 fish is the top one? Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? 5,000 fish? We should probably take a pike because I don't believe we have a thing of that yet. I don't believe we have a model of that thing quite yet. So we'll just take the pike out and the rest of them can stay. That's not a pike. If we do have one, then so be it. But yeah, CJ, go ahead and sell them. Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it looked pretty interesting to me. So, you know, I started reading it. I can't remember at what point did I catch up to the subsequent releases, because that's always, I think, one of the most interesting points of with any sort of. Are you right, Raymond? Are you staring at me? Is it because I was in your way? It's always the most interesting point of with any series that you might catch up to. Manga, anime, TV, movie, books, even. Or perhaps less so for things which have come in like big installments like movies and books, but like web comics, that sort of thing. What point did you catch up to the present day releases? I can't quite remember with Beastars when exactly it was. I read it very early on, so I think it was before volume 9 even came out. Maybe volume 7, volume 8. It's a little bit fuzzy in my head, and I'm trying to think. I'm not going to give away spoilers. Either way, it was rather early on into its life cycle because I discovered it quite early on, and then it just became the agonising wait of waiting every single week for the serial to be released. That makes it sound like I'm talking about cereal. That's not what I meant. We should also check Nook Shopping, just in case they've got special things, which they don't. Perhaps they're waiting till the October update. We have fruit-related things, right? Fruit tree talks to people, fossils. Okay, fruit tree talks to people, fossils. That agonising wait for every single week for the latest episode to be released, well, not episode, latest issue is probably a better word, to be released, and trying to find out what happens. But it's really fun being able to. I'm not going to say I participate in the community because I didn't really participate in that community. I'm much more of a lurker. But being able to read everyone's theories of what's going to happen, is this the direction we're going? What do people think about this? What do people think about that? Yeah, blah 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 blah. And I suppose it sort of makes you feel like you're part of the community, like with everyone else, everyone who appreciates this one thing being like, oh, what's going to happen next? I don't know. This is what I think. This is what I think. Oh, no. Did you notice this little detail? Blah, blah, blah. And that's really exciting. Even if... And if you ask me, which one's better? To be caught up with everything and to be having that hype with everyone, or, you know, being able to be in the past and sort of binge these episodes when you want? I'll be honest, being able to hype up with everyone at present day releases, so much better. For one, there's no sort of risk of spoilers, and then I've said my piece about spoilers before. I don't think it's actually that bad. No, wait, hold on. Let me think how to phrase this before you think I'm going around spoiling things at people. I'm not spoiling things at people. I'm just like, if I get spoiled, it's not the end of the world for me. But I can't disagree that the impact lands so much harder when you go into something's completely blind. Swap it with this. And we will talk to you. No, we don't. No, we need fruit. We need fruit. That's right. I remember. Aroma pot we already know how to do. I guess we'll just sort of release some more bugs. Just so we can get this done. We need to release 2, don't we? Sorry. I had it all confused in my mind. But yeah. Being able to keep up with everyone and not get spoiled, and being able to be at the release with everyone else and get hyped along with them is awesome. You know, it feels like you're part of a thing. Like, but getting spoiled isn't too bad. Like, I'm gonna use an example. Squid Game is a recent TV series that came out on Netflix recently. It's taken the entire world by storm. Have I watched it? No. But do I know kind of what happens in it? Yeah, kind of, because I've seen. It's one of the things where it became so ubiquitous, it was almost impossible to avoid spoilers. I know about the red light, green light. I know that's the first game. I know this. Sorry, Squid Game spoilers if you haven't seen it yet. And hold on. Moni Hana. I tried to learn it because I was like, this is such a. This would be a fantastic thing to creep people out. Moni Hana. Hold on, I need to look it up again. Red light, green light in Korean. It's like Morihwa Genchi Pyopsomnida. That doesn't sound right. Let's see. Someone needs to write it. 무궁화꽃이 폈습니다. Something like that. I don't know. I've been trying to just learn how I say it, just so I can creep people out with it, because I feel like I'd be part of it. A very amusing thing to do, perhaps upsettingly so, and perhaps this is not something I should be particularly concerned with, but it just sounds like a bit of fun, to be honest. Yes, we'll start all these things. Although I can't remember quite the intonation that Dole said with. So yeah, I know some things about Squid Game. I know there's red light, green light. I know there's something about cookies. You cut it out, and then I know people die. Like huge amounts of people die. I don't really know much else about it, and I haven't watched it yet. Do I plan to watch it at some point? Probably. I don't know exactly when, but it's the sort of thing where, like, even though I know basically the broad concepts of what's going on, the show can still surprise me with things that happen. Not despite the fact I'm kind of spoiled of basically the entire premise. That shock of it being like, oh, this is a Bloodsport games or something like that. It's not going to come as readily. But I will say, if I heard about it earlier, if I even had Netflix in the first place, and I would probably watch it just to sort of keep up with hype. Hold on. Sorry, got stuffing caught my throat. Being able to keep up with everyone as they watch a series and having like all these revelations and being slowly unfolded to them feels so much more hype and so much more fun, I suppose, than, you know, sort of knowing vaguely about what happens beforehand and going into it. But yeah, I'm not quite sure when I caught up to Beastars, but I know when I caught up to some other things, you know. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, caught up at the start of the second season, basically. I found out about it quite early on, and I was like, this seems like something I'd like, so I watched it. Homestuck, I caught up around not too long after the start of Act 5, I believe. No, that's not when I caught up. That's when I started, I think. That's when I started, and I caught up somewhere in Act 5 later on, but before the whole Gamzee... Sorry, Homestuck spoilers for, you know, like a 15-year-old media property now. Gamzee, you know, absolutely flipping out. So somewhere before that part is when I caught up. I can't quite remember. And it's always interesting, you know. Because for me personally, when I have a vague idea about the media property before I start watching it. In first place, for example, on Homestuck, you know, even it's unavoidable. Like, you just go on the website and you can see the currently uploaded page, but you have like no concept of what it means because you have no like context behind it. It's all just like meaningless to you. So I remember when I started, I looked at like the first few chapters, being like, is this Homestuck thing for me? And I read a little bit about the trolls and their introduction. I remember reading that, being like, I have no idea what this means, but, you know, it seems kind of cool, and then proceeded to read the rest of it. And it's a thing with spoilers, is how the shape in your mind gets totally warped, I suppose. You know, when you... I'm not sure if I can explain this properly. Like, for example, this Homestuck thing, reading about the trolls, you know, just in lieu of any context at all, makes... Your brain makes sort of like certain judgments and presumptions about what's going on. Being like, oh, maybe it's like this, maybe this is how the story unfolds, this is who this is my initial assumption of them. And then getting to it after reading through the entire story gives it a whole new light on that sort of thing. It's sort of like you build up two versions of a story in your head, one which you've created from your assumptions on a media property, and one built up from the actual absorption and the understanding of it. And honestly, probably something that's going to happen with Squid Game as well when I watch it, you know? What do I think is going on? I think there are these people, and for some reason they participate in this, what seems to be a blood sport competition where they play children's games and murder each other, kind of. And it's for money. I can't remember. I did watch the trailer, but I don't exactly remember what happens in the trailer off the top of my head. I don't remember what games entirely there were. Red light, green light. There was the candy cutting one, of course. That was that's kind of hard to avoid like spoilers about because I've heard so much about it. And I've seen a clip of the red light green light one because that's what piqued my interest. You know, I was like, people are talking so much about this, and I see this everywhere. Should I watch it? And I watched a little bit of a clip, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna watch this at some point. There's other games they showed, but I didn't really understand what was going on. I hadn't really thought too much about it, to be honest. But even just by watching it, I've built up an idea of what happens in the Squid Games myself, you know? Like, is this like an evil corporation? Is this like a Hunger Games thing? I don't know, but that's like my only assumption. That's like the only things I can sort of extrapolate from, because that's all I know. And I'm sure once I've caught up with it, it's going to feel like a completely different story. I'm going to be like, oh, look at all this context I now have behind all these actions. Oh, look at all these details, which, you know, even though I saw these details early on and got spoiled of them really quickly, I didn't understand what they meant or what the weight behind them was. So when it came to that part anyway, I still got, while I knew what was going to happen, I still got that emotional impact, that sort of like gut punch situation, you know? And that's kind of happened with My Hero Academia a little bit. I vaguely know broad strokes of some story elements, you know, because they're these legal villains who are kind of like the villains, I suppose, in My Hero Academia, and I kind of knew about them because one of them in particular, what's her name, Toga, is incredibly popular, and I see her literally everywhere, and all I knew about her was that she has her, well, I knew what her quirk was because she appears everywhere. But like I build up my own idea of exactly what's going on, and I construct my own story subconsciously, about what I assume the story to be. Be like, oh, you know, I know people have quirks. I know there's this person called All Might. I know there's this person with this little boy who I now know is called Deku, or, you know, Midoriya. And I don't really understand what's going on, except for he's gonna become a superhero and save the world, you know. And I had my own sort of presumptions about what's going on, and then, you know, you actually watch it and you realise what's going on. Oh, you know, it turns out he's someone who doesn't have a quirk and he wants to be a hero, and he just studies about heroes all day. But suddenly he's been given a quirk, and now he needs to make the most of it. You know, it's like I've got two different versions of a story, and they're both. I'm not gonna say they're both equally interesting. Obviously, the actual one's probably going to be better than your made-up story in your head most of the time. Unless you have bad source material to work off with from first place. But like, these two concurrent stories are both equally enticing to me in a certain aspect. One, because one's actually a good story, the OG story, of which to follow, and elicits reactions, I suppose, at me. And the other one is my own sort of story in my head of what I thought things were going to be like. And that in itself is interesting. To see how things unfold differently to how I expected, and see like things which I knew before from like watching clips every so often of these sort of things, you know. The clips out of context don't really make sense to me. They just like, oh, okay, I wonder who that is, I wonder what the meaning behind it is. And then, you know, the clips don't show everything, of course. There's things before and after and other sort of gut-wrenching moments which happen that, like, you know, catch you off guard, which, so even though I go in with some sort of vague idea about the story, I think the fact that in my head I've built up this sort of pre-built story, my own assumptions from story, sets me up for some false expectations, where when I watch the actual story, I'm just like, whoa, it's completely different to how I imagined. Like, the one I always think back to is Pitch Perfect, which is completely strange because Pitch Perfect isn't even that great of a story wise. It's just more of like a, they say every writer needs an editor, but who's editing all the Sky Riders, man? Pitch Perfect isn't even that amazing a story plot wise. It's just more like of a comedy, a teen comedy movie, and honestly the a cappella arrangements are just kind of fun, if anything. It's a very quotable movie, as they say. But for some reason, I read somewhere that in the Pitch Perfect plot or whatever, that, spoilers, the Bellas like lost the finals, the grand finals or something like that. And while that might be incidentally a very minor part of like the entire movie, well, no, it's not minor, I suppose it is like the sort of the grand climax of the entire movie. It was like, oh, this is what they're leading up to for this grand finals, and then they lose it in the end. And then in my head, I built up like how that story would go, be like, oh, you know, they understand that winning is not everything, and how they changed is really the most important part. And then actually watching a movie and finding out that they do win, sort of like set me up for a false expectation. I was ready going into the entire movie being like, I know already they're going to lose. So even though this last performance they're doing is awesome, it's a shame that they still lose in the end. And then, you know, getting caught out being like, oh, wait a minute, they win in the end. That's unbelievable. How did this happen? It's sort of like somehow spoiling yourself added to the experience, because you have, because I guess spoiling yourself is sort of like ridding yourself of the surprise of unexpected events happening. But an event can still be unexpected even if you're spoiled of it in the first place, because you might misunderstood it in the pitch perfect case, or two, you might have built up the wrong impression in your mind, and still leading up to the process is equally exciting. I'm not going to say you should go around spoiling things to people. I think that's a horrible thing to do, and it kind of depends on the person. But for me personally, and perhaps that's just sort of me trying to make light of a bad situation when I spoil myself of a media property, I'm not going to deny that the impact is the best when the surprise is actually like completely organic and completely real. But that's not to say that there is no merit, that all merit of it is being lost as soon as you have a vaguest idea what's going on. So that's what I'm saying. Despite the fact I'm almost caught up now in My Hero Academia, I plan to be caught up either by today or tomorrow, in which case we can finally talk about it. I do plan to catch up at some point, but even if I have been kind of spoiled, the greatest part is not the fact that being caught up means now I'm going to be kind of immune to a lot of spoilers. It's the fact that now I feel like even if I'm not actively participating in it, I'm sort of part of a community who are all eagerly anticipating this thing, all eagerly weighing out their theories and talking to each other. And I can read other people's theories and people's analysis on characters and that sort of thing, and come to my own conclusions about what might and will and won't happen. And I suppose it's sort of just like a sense of community, humans like, well, maybe not all humans, but most humans like to have that sort of human connection, that sort of reason which links people together, and that sort of sense of belonging, right? So I guess this is just the sort of natural extrapolation of that sort of thing. Who knows? So let's just sell these items, and then we'll sort of see what else we can do today in this episode. Let's not sell that. Sell this. I'm gonna just completely clear off our inventory. Don't need that. Do we need this? Don't need that. Just so we can, empty inventory, empty mind, as they say. So I don't know what I'm going to title this episode. Caught up. We've still got 8 minutes left. I feel like I kind of reached the end of my definitive point. So I guess I'll just sort of think about other things to catch up on. There's not many things I feel like I started reading from the outset. Normally, because me myself, I don't personally like spending time. Not spending time. I guess it's sort of like a. The idea of watching like a Hot in Time movie or a Thai TV series feels like overwhelming, and I don't really want to watch something if I don't think I'm going to like it in the end. If it feels a bit like wasted opportunity, which is probably not how you should think about things, but I guess it's just subconsciously how I think about things. So me going to watch a movie is like, I'm never going to watch a movie on my volition unless I hear from other people that it's really good and I should definitely watch it, or that I'd like it, or something along those lines, that it's been very popular. So there's not many things I sort of watch or participate in from the get-go, And I nearly always start watching things like after I hear about it afterwards from other people who watched it or read about it and been like, oh, it's so good, you should do it as well. I'm trying to think of anything. So I guess that's why maybe I have that sort of view on spoilers in the first place, because, I've been so behind times with most other people with trying to watch much more popular media that, I've been spoiled before, and that's sort of just the outlook I end up taking from it. And that's just been my own experience from that entire thing. I don't know. It's a bit difficult to say and a bit difficult to pinpoint exactly. More fruit? Wait, hold on. We should have seen what these fish and bugs are, see if they're feasible. Bag on, fresh water goby. Okay, that's not very feasible, to be perfectly honest. I'm trying to think what I did participate in from the get-go. Because even Undertale I didn't participate in from the get-go. I participated a couple of months after it was released, after I heard good things about it. And I suppose that's just, that'll just always be the case. That would just use the nature of my own personality. I'm never going to participate. What does this need? Candy. That's a smart idea. I'm never going to fully be someone who's there from the onset, unless it's like a sequel to something. But even then, like you might be like, oh, Deltarune, but is that something you participated in from the get-go? Kind of. I played through Chapter 1, but I haven't played through Chapter 2 because I want to sort of save it. I want to save being spoiled by it until it's fully released, which might be ages from now, but I think it'll be all the more exciting that way. not to say that I've now not been spoiled about some things. Like, I know some things happen. Well, actually, I don't really know what happens. I just know some characters appear. Like, I know Noel appears. I can't remember what the bird's called. Something happens with a bird because I see him memed all the time, but I always exit out of a meme before I can really tell what's going on. And I know the Taskmaster is a thing just because she's literally... people draw her so often and I don't know why. I guess she's a very notable character. And I know about the existence of one other character, but for my assumption, it seems like a bit of a big spoiler, so I'm not going to mention it here in case you haven't played it through yourself. So yeah, even with Deltarune, I'm not really there from the get-go. I'm just not from the get-go for many things. Like, even video games, which is one of my biggest hobbies. Or one of my... I'm not going to say it's my biggest hobby. I guess it's one of a thing I do love quite a lot. Even that, there's not many games I buy new, like straight off the bat. The only time in recent memory has been Life is Strange True Colors. I bought from the get-go, just because I was like, you know, the timing works out for it to be a nice sort of story game for me to play. And the other one is this game I'm playing right now, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Those are like the only two games I can really recall buying almost immediately. Actually, I think I bought Smash Ultimate quite soon after it was released as well. Anything else? Not really that I can think of. I even held out on getting a Switch for ages as well because there was nothing that I particularly wanted until Animal Crossing came out. I held out for ages because I was like, they're going to have an Animal Crossing Switch and I want to get that. But then they didn't release with the Animal Crossing Switch. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a normal Switch, I think. Alas, there is now an Animal Crossing Switch, but I will not get it because I don't have that sort of money to, you know, just chuck around aimlessly. Plant a fruit tree, buy items. Okay. Yeah, so I think everything is just stuff I've been slowly catching up on. Even the anime I watch are just things that are so popular in the past that, you know, people have just always been recommending, but I just never got around to watching. That's a lie. Actually, one anime I did watch from its get-go, I think, was Kiznaiva. Almost from its get-go, not quite from its get-go, but quite early on, I think. I don't know why. I think I was just reading something and then it just popped up and it was like, oh, this is a cool concept, and then I like watched like the first episode for some reason. Maybe I was feeling particularly adventurous that day. I was like, hey, it was pretty good. I'm gonna watch all of it. Now I don't really remember most of it, to be honest, but it was good, kind of. I think probably. I don't know. It's all gone from my. Well, it's not gone from my memory. It's still kind of there, vaguely, but we're not going to talk about it now. In my monologue. Na na. Na 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 na. Sorry. But we'll sell these items and we'll probably just round this episode off here because I've got really not much else to say. Methinks it's kind of everything's over. And everything's over. It sucks to grow up. And everybody does. So weird being back here. Sorry, excuse my throat. Slowly dying today. I don't know why. I just woke up and my throat was really hoarse. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to finishing off this season on My Hero Academia and be like, whoa. I guess you'll hear about me talking about it either tomorrow or the day after. I don't know. Depends. Anyway, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join my Dear Darling Discord and follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we can see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time. Bye-bye for now.